Good evening.
Everywhere I go on this island, it seems to me I find degeneracy.
Watch a few movies, take a few notes. See, it's a lot scarier when there's no motive, Sid.
We have a bargain.
Watch a few movies, take a few notes.
Do you feel the pain? Oh, it's the pain, I can assure you, will be exquisite.
Watch a few movies, take a few notes.
His entire work consists of violence, all the time, obsessed with the issue of violence. Mayhem, gouging out of eyes, autopsies on the stage.
Come. It is time to keep your appointment.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to this extremely janky edition. Oh, what's this? Why is it not working? Welcome to this extremely janky edition. Bloody hell. It's
Ladies
so
and gentlemen,
broken, I can't show it.
our guest this week is none other than Sargon of Akkad, and he's brought in his boomer tech.
Oh,
Hello
Why
there,
is it
guys.
so
It's
boomer?
me, Carl. Would you like to hear me pontificate about philosophy for 15 minutes?
I have a degree now.
I have a degree. I'm smart. I'm very smarter than you. I hope Carl doesn't watch this, God.
it's okay, Harry. No one watches this.
Hey, there we go.
That's why we can have the fun. You know, I really want to ask him why he got the degree. If it's like genuinely not mogging, I feel like the universities are corrupted. Why would you want a degree? I really want to know. If it's just a troll, so it's like that has to come up in descriptions, you know, fair play. But
Listen, guys, I know the answer, but it would be rude for me to say because. Okay. Also, there we are. Here we are. Hello, everybody.
yeah, it was a title screen. It wasn't letting me show, so you know, never mind. And say, we got some new people. This is great. Look, you are very welcome, new people. If you are new, you haven't said hi, please do. Good to see you, Joe. Thank you for coming on and joining us. We are a horror stream. If you don't know, we go fairly in depth, not excessive. We aren't EFAP. I assure you, we are not EFAP. But we try and look a little bit deeper. We're in that sweet spot between the sort of 8-minute critical drinker. Here's a plot. Here's a joke about Tatiana. I'm out of here. And the 4-hour EFAP sessions. We are that sweet spot. We got the right level of autism when we talk about horror films. We'll try and give you a little more detail, but you'll still be able to have sleep in time for tomorrow. That was excessive. I will get us quite into it because we're a little time pressed tonight. Just to say, this is following on our UK horror theme, where we are looking at the state of what was the formerly benevolent blessed lands of the United Kingdom and its current, how do I describe it without getting a hate crime citation, its current form. We're looking at how horror films have explored, expressed, and maybe camouflaged current anxieties, because horror has a way of kind of hoovering up whatever's in the zeitgeist at the time and expressing it, often through metaphor. In this case, it's a lot more direct, as you may be not surprised by. Last week, we looked at chav horror, which there is a whole subgenre of in the mid-2010s. Now we're much more up to date. We are looking at the issue of asylum, which for reasons I just can't put my finger on, people getting a little spooked about. Hairs raising on the back of the neck around this matter. I can't understand why. But to help us understand it, we're going to look at His House from 2020 by Remi Weekes. And I've got a panel here to look at it with me. Regular co-host Murgoot, hello.
Greetings, all. Just to show myself, I'm at Murgoot on X. I'm currently shadow banned to hell and gone. You have to look up my entire name.
It's true. It's true. And also TCG, could see you, that crime guy.
Good evening. Thank you for having us once again.
Oh, always a pleasure, man. Always a pleasure. And round I was going to say the Boromir of the group. I don't know why I picked that. That just came automatically to my subconscious. Make of that what you will. Harry Robinson of the Lotus Eaters, long-time guest, good chap, and someone here for the entire UK arc very generously. So welcome back, Harry.
Actually, I told you that it was Sargon of Akkad.
What? Oh my god!
I need to just try something. I've got a soundboard here. I just want to see. You've already mentioned Critical Drinker, okay? And I need to see that this film that we're talking about, would you say that it includes in it The Message? Did that work? Did that work?
No.
The echoing did.
Give it a go again.
All right. Right. Does it have
The Message?
That helium drinker.
Yeah, that's what, he picked up the wrong bottle that morning.
Yeah,
There are also a few things that I can do with this. I can do, of course, like a little record scratch. I won't do it for the rest of it. I just like playing with these. I'm so sorry, everybody.
No, it's all good. It's good. I'm too boomer to do that stuff myself. But as we delve into this important topic, as we look at the matter of people seeking asylum in the UK being set up
and immediately being given 2-bedroom houses.
Yes, I have my own technical innovation to help with our analysis. We have Nick, 30 ons, to keep us company for the entire stream. Delightful.
Well, I don't feel bad. I don't feel bad for Nick 30 Anns because I mean, unlike the main protagonists of this film, he not black and he not sad. I mean, he's sad, but he's not black sad, you know.
All right, you know what? We are going to get into this in some depth. Oh, I will complete my shilling because I have fabulous American supporters who remind me that you have to shill. So let's do that really quickly. My own shilling, of course. Let's complete it. Harry does great work. Get on Lotus Eaters. You have £5 a month. You can support him, and you should do so. As for me, this channel is monetized somehow. Sorry, Scrum. And the best way for you to support me, if you don't want to do a super chat, you can do like terrible influence on the channel Mr. Gently Benevolent has done. Join as a member. Praise Harry with a member chat. You can also do it on Subscribestar. And the reason I like you guys to do that, join as members, is because then I can reward you. You get exclusive content. You get to vote on what the theme of the month is going to be. And I like to do member requests as well. So that is why I like you to join as members. But if you want to throw a super chat, that's great as well. Maybe if you are particularly generous tonight, we will do another quiz stream for you. That was popular. And if you're especially generous, I will promise never to do them again. But you'll have to really shell out for that.
I do have 2 questions actually for GB specifically. First question is the amount of times that Proper Horror Show's been on the Lotus Eaters, does she now classify as a Spice Carl? And if the answer to that question is yes, which Spice Carl is she?
Ooh.
I would argue she's more like, because she's only been on the premium content, she's not actually been on the podcast. So I'd say that she's like a recurring special guest musician, you know, and they get like a special guest vocalist or a guitarist who keeps coming back to do a solo for one song per album.
You could say she's Posh Spice because only people who pay can afford to see her.
That's a good point.
Or Scary Spice, considering.
Hey,
given the fumble that you had when discussing Stanley Kubrick's failed Holocaust film, Chloe, I think it's probably good that we keep you behind the paywall.
Oh wow! Oh wow!
Deep lore.
There is a very, very spicy flub that I think was edited out.
It
but
was.
We still have it.
I checked for it.
We still have it. The clip exists.
They will hold you to ransom over that, Chloe. One wrong move, and Lotus Eaters will expose you.
Oh,
I
don't
would
worry.
not be surprised.
There is a plentiful compilation of me using all sorts of colourful and totally legal language in the UK that is hanging over my head like the sword of Damocles as well.
Although, actually, you could share that clip with Lotus Eaters out of context.
Nope.
Just saying.
Yeah, I might have to do that. No. I wouldn't do it.
As yes, it's a fine tradition to save the best flubs on there. Okay, brilliant. You know what? We've chilled. I reckon we're time to get into this. Keeping it tight so you have the analysis. We will give you a quick rundown of His House from 2020, just so you can follow roughly what the heck is going on. We'll do that for about 2 minutes, and then otherwise, you guys are smart. That's why you're here. You can infer what's happening from context. So with that said, for anyone who has not done their homework this week, which one of you would like to give us a quick 2-minute summary of the plot of His House?
Yeah, go on then. Couple fleeing South Sudan, hop on a boat. 3 of them get on, 2 of them make it, shall we say. Yeah, and then they get everything handed to them, as you would expect, and they move in, and they find out that not everything is as it seems, because it's like something followed them to the house. And yeah, it doesn't help when they're trying to adjust into a new way of life. And yeah, there we go. That's the best I can do, because this film actually surprised me in terms of how much I would have enjoyed it. How much I enjoyed it.
Yeah, same. I mean, so I first saw this ages ago when I was doing a longer analysis on Jordan Peele's Candyman. I know it was Nia DaCosta's, but you know, he owns a production company. He wrote the script. No, it's his. Anyway, not being derailed. It's quite funny. Your man in this ball, he wears the exact same outfit as a protagonist in Candyman, and that was made a year later. Interesting. So I came across it when I was looking at that, and I was looking at like the pattern of very racially charged anti-white horror films, and I saw His House on that. I saw the trailer. I was like, ugh, great. And I'd kind of written it off because of that. And I thought, I'm never going to want to watch this. So when we came around to this, I was pleasantly surprised.
I'll say I went into this with incredibly low expectations, and the first 15 minutes or so did not set me up thinking that this was going to be a winner. Not that I think it's amazing or anything, but it's certainly a lot better than I was expecting, because they get the house, they start hearing creepy noises, you see that image in the window of their creepy looking next door neighbor stroking her cat, and I went, racists in the walls. It's going to be racists in the walls. That's what this film is. And it wasn't. It was about voodoo witchcraft, which was great, because by the end of the film, knowing what these people had done, they'd brought their weird voodoo with them, and also you find out over the course of the film that to get into the bus that took them to the boat in the first place, they stole a child. I thought, yes, these are the refugees that I want in the country, enriching my culture.
Yeah, in terms of whatever message this for, if the message of this film was to be sympathetic to these two, I don't think they achieved that, because these are supposed to be the protagonists of the films, and as you rightly mentioned, they literally snatched a child, leaving their mother
onto a bus.
So they get onto a bus, leaving the biological mother to presumably like get shot down by the people that they were fleeing from, and then ended up like she drowns in the river, in the sea on the way to
yeah, they get her killed. They actively just get her killed. This
just so you know, this is the good guy. This is the good guy.
Yeah.
This is the good guy whose default expression for most of the film is sad puppy dog.
Yeah.
Very sad puppy dog that you're supposed to feel bad for, and then it's like, oh, he's a kidnapper. Oh, and he got her killed. Oh, great. But at least, but by the end of the film, Matt Smith, Doctor Who himself, cultural icon, gives him a knowing smile, knowing that this man can assimilate into our culture now that he's finally dispelled the witchcraft that was cursing him.
I mean, to be fair, he did work in a bank.
He did work in a bank. Also,
he's an international banker. What could go wrong?
Also, for a man who lived in a country which presumably is not particularly resource rich, in fantastic shape.
Oh, I was going to say, yeah, dude was ripped in the scene. He got his shirt off,
and his wife was a bit plump.
So,
yeah, I was thinking, like, I decided to look up pictures of like actual Sudanese people earlier on today when I was watching this film. I was like, I don't know, something doesn't add up here.
Yeah, I did my own research for this, looking into the production. So I looked for Sudanese BBC. Worst mistake in my life. I'm telling you.
Is there an article in Pigeon?
No, moving on.
No, I think I get the joke. I can't believe that you decided to be that crass this early into the stream, Chloe. My God.
No. All right. So we have brought up this. There is a huge problem in this. Like the moral quandary here is quite interesting, and I think far more typically. I'm not sure that the directors actually see it. I've got an interview with them here. We might play a short clip from it later, basically. But for an interesting bit of background, these two, Toby Venables and Felicity Evans, are the actual like creators of the story, the people who pushed it for years and years. They're originally developing it with the Weinstein Company, and they were basically told after all their work that you've developed it, but basically you need to take a step back, and we need a black director. And in this interview, they're like, and that was great. We love that. Quite hilariously, they say that the guy who actually came on, directed, and sounds like did substantial rewrites, Remi Weekes, brings that authenticity to it. Remi Weekes.
Was he actually doing voodoo on set? What?
He was not doing voodoo on set. He's not an Essex lad. He's not Sudanese. Right. He went to a private school. But I'm sure somehow there is authenticity in there. I'll work it out later. But
I think it because he black.
You know, Harry, it makes me think that the Dems are the real racists.
Oh my God! The temptation to hit the applause button on my soundboard. Then.
Do it.
Like, having said that, I want to get this out early. We have a lot to dissect in here in what is intended, what is unintended. Have we got a woker more correct than the mainstream situation, which, by the way, is one of my favorite things. But this film is inevitably going to be polarizing. If you look at their Rotten Tomatoes, this film is basically 5 stars, like full 5s or a 1. And it's in a case of, this film's about refugees. I love it. Yes, give me more. 5. Or it's people giving it the lowest score they can, saying this film's about refugees. Bloody hell. This stream is above that. We can step over that. We can see what the messaging is, and we can interrogate that as part of a broader analysis. We can call out poison when we see it, and we can praise some really well done stuff. This director may have got his start through maybe less than admirable means, but Remi Weekes I want to say he does a good job directing this. I've got him here. There we go. Here's our man. Here's Remi Weekes. Like Felicity Evans and Toby Venables, hasn't got as much and has worked on smaller stuff. Showed promise in a short. Showed talent. Was picked up. Got a chance. Made a good film. Made something stylish. So the guy has got the talent. This isn't a Nia DaCosta situation. This is a guy who actually has got, I would say, decent directing skills.
Yeah, I think in terms of the directing of this film, yeah, it was pretty. I think I said to you, not backstage, but earlier on in the day when I checked it out, I thought it was quite a tightly knit film. I thought it was pretty good.
Yeah.
No complaints.
His pacing could have been better, but for one of his first long forms, it's pretty good. It's pretty well. The rewrites are pretty good. It holds together. It's unfortunate the villain protagonists win, but yeah.
You were rooting for the witch doctor.
Yes.
Well, I mean, they did. I mean, we don't see exactly what happened, but they did basically leave a child that they stole to die horribly drowning in the sea.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think you might be right. That curse might have been warranted. It was justified.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I did like the special effect of the witch.
Oh, I've got that up if you want him on screen.
On his arm and burrowing his hand into it, and eventually
that was good. That was pretty good.
Yeah,
puppeteering bull. That was a good effect. Whoever he vetted his FX company very, very well. He knew what he was doing, why he wanted to do that. I wonder if that was pure CGI or if there was any practicals to that.
Oh, I can help you on that. People who are as cool as me and stuck around for the end credits all the way. I assume everyone here did that.
No,
will have noticed.
Yeah, obviously.
Sweet. You will have noticed a familiar name, Kevin Greutert.
Oh, okay.
Kevin Greutert, for anyone who doesn't know, is big in the Saw films. Started off as an editor, worked his way up, and then basically was running the show when Darren Lynn Boseman, Lee Wannell, and James Wan had stepped away. So I think he comes in about 4 or 5 is when he starts directing. So your man knows his stuff when it comes to the effects.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
One thing.
Go
ahead, Harry.
I was just going to say that for my part, overall impression of the film was that there were more effective scares than I was expecting, more effective sequences, but I just found the characters to be completely unlikable and unsympathetic. At least the protagonist, especially the woman, she was awful. But I did like Matt Smith. He was just nice, normal person trying to be sympathetic towards these people, and she hated him for it, which is telling. That's telling. Perhaps that's woke more correct. White people can do as much as possible for these people, be as sympathetic, kind, accommodating. They'll still hate you.
Can I like draw you out a bit more on that, on like why you really took against her? Was it like her hostility to him, or I'd like to hear you more on that.
Well, the main reason why was whenever she was interacting with British people in this film, she had this aloof, antagonistic, like confrontational vibe to her. Where, like this woman you've got on screen right now, she's trying so hard to be nice. She's trying to connect with this woman. She's like, "Oh, these are pretty." These scars that you've got on your on your forehead. She immediately comes out at her, shuts her down, and starts basically going on about her trauma and using the trauma as this weapon to try and say, I'm better than you. You've not been through the same trauma that I have. You could never understand. You're just some naive white girl, so I don't have to be nice to you. I don't have to be polite to you. I can just be confrontational to everybody. When Matt Smith comes, sees that they've torn apart the house and is like, you're going to get in trouble for this, and then decides to take pity on them and not report them anyway, because he's trying his best with these people who literally believe in voodoo witchcraft and are tearing apart the house. As soon as he's gone, she starts bad-mouthing him, starts going on about how bored and miserable they are, how they could never understand life in the same way that I am. So she's completely ungrateful. She's completely confrontational to people for no reason. Utterly unlikable. Deport her.
Well, she actually calls the British whites weak.
She does.
Yeah.
Can I just say, like, kind of
because we have a peaceful society, or had a peaceful society that wasn't erupting into civil war every 30 years, that makes us weak. Fantastic.
I wonder though. I think we are not going to get this stream monetized, are we? I'll just say this. I think that might be a little based. It might be a little more correct than the mainstream. I mean, she knows what they did. She knows they've got in. She's seen how kind of bored everyone is, throughout the process. And she's just seeing, like, everything being given up to her. And she's like, weak. To be honest, yeah, why not?
I know.
Like, with what she's getting away with, I'm like, yeah, kind of. This scene in particular, I think, there's no way I can hate this film. I'm fascinated by it. Like, this scene in particular is amazing. Like, there's so much, I think, intentional or unintentional. There is so much to agree with here. Like, these characters, if you're only listening to the stream, just to make it clear, this is in an NHS GP's. Imagine that she managed to get an appointment.
Well, of course she did. They put her to the front of the queue.
Yeah. She's in with this plummy, well put together white woman, who, very notably, she is dressed in a shirt with a Africanized pattern. I think that's fair to describe it as that. But she is, a tribal woman from South Sudan with scarification tattoos. These two people should not meet in history. Like, it is bizarre that these two people are in a room with each other, and it's quite amazing seeing the failure to communicate. Like,
I wouldn't call it so much. I wouldn't so much call it a failure, but I would call it an unwillingness on Rial's part to communicate, because it's not as if the doctor's saying anything that might be confusing. Like, sure, she misinterprets the markings as tattoos, like. But if Rial was willing to engage, she could just be like, oh, well, no, actually, like in a more polite way, this is how I got, you want to know how I got these scars, kind of moment.
I'm gonna need that in your best African Sudanese accent, TCG. I'm afraid.
You want to know how I got these scars?
Wonderful.
Oh, great, that's me cancelled. But yeah, no, it's just it's almost like a looking down. It's almost like she's looking down at this doctor, like, how can you not know? Like, it's a very sort of and she demonstrates it later on, like Harry said, when Matt Smith and his co-worker have left, and she starts berating. But yeah, I mean, there is just an outright resistance with her to sort of engage with the locals, if you will. I mean, there's one bit when she leaves the house to head towards I think it's on her way to the doctor's. She's approached by a kid, and she just outright ignores him, which, fair enough. I probably would have done the same too, because there was no reason for him to be approaching, but it was almost like, what are you doing? And then when it's apparent that she's lost and she can't find her way, she approaches these three young teenagers, and interestingly, she sort of greets them in her native language, and they're like, "What?" And then they play the typical sort of like racist that this was the most surprise. This completely subverted my expectations. This scene.
It was just like in Mean Girls, you know. Casey goes into the African table, she's like Jambo, and they're not up for it.
Yeah, I know, right? And like, yeah, the only sort of like abuse that she gets is from these lads, and they're quite literally like, go back to Africa. And I'm thinking, is Steve Laws around the corner waiting to shout at all of them to go back? Do you know what I mean? It's like he was like, because they were literally like, yeah, this is for English people, yeah. And it's kind of like,
they should have shouted. They should have shouted, "Remigration is inevitable" as she was walking by.
Do you know what? It would have. I mean, I was howling when this. Like actual howling with laughter when it's in, because it just caught me so off guard. I was not expecting that.
It was a very funny scene. I love that little bit when, "Oh mate, your auntie's here. Go talk to your auntie." I thought, I can totally believe the school kid saying that.
I honestly wonder what the intention behind this scene is, to put the kind of typical xenophobic attitude that's put in the mouths of working class Englishmen into the mouths of these three black teenagers who also seem to describe themselves as being English. And I don't want to get into the whole Fraser Nelson conversation again on that subject, but I wonder what the intention was behind this. Very strange.
It's the same. I think, well, it's in the DMs. I don't know if I said to you as well, Harry, but this scene absolutely fascinated me. It was one of two that really fascinated me that I thought we have to talk about. It's what did they mean by this? Because would you like to hear the creators of this story, just to sort of set the scene for who made this? And I think it might give us a little clue.
Because it really confused me, because if they're like the types that would try and portray this in a positive, like portray a positive message about immigration, I genuinely feel like they completely dropped the ball with this, because like I say, I mean, you know, these people are completely unlikable. They came here not just through the illegal means that, you know, there's a whole topic, you know, there's a whole discussion going on at the moment in the UK about it. But just the manner in which they got here, the deception, the fact that they literally stole a child on their way and let that kid die. And it's like, okay, I'm not going to be sympathetic towards these two. You know, I don't care if the guy worked in a bank. I don't care if up until that point, I was actually quite liking Bowl. One of my favorite scenes with him was when he was in the pub and they started doing the Stoke chant about Peter Crouch. Again, I was howling at that one because that was pretty cool. And then, you know, going back home and he's like, "Oh, you know, quite a good time. We were all singing," and she just completely, like, Rial again, just completely didn't get it, which is sort of so the polarization of those two, with one trying to adjust to his new surroundings and the other one being like, no, we don't fit. She even outwardly says that we don't belong here.
Are more correct. I'm going to play the interview and then, like, their different response to the culture, I think we can really dig into. I want to come back to that. But let's listen to this interview and then let's try and pick apart that scene with the school kids. Because, all right, so this is them talking about the inspiration. There was a weird haunted house in Essex, right? This is sort of what she was talking about when she leads into this bit. Tell me if you can hear it.
And then I thought, well, what happens when this property sort of, there's this kind of, like
crank up the volume a bit.
House. What happens when this house is sort of sitting outside the norm? Well, it's going to be sort of lumped with people who we're also told are, you know, outside the norm, that we're supposed to kind of, you know, a house that's othered is going to have people lumped in it who we're othering. And I wanted to make that, I really wanted to make that clear. I wanted to bring that out, that these human beings that are coming here, you know, there are people in the press, people in politics who are invested in othering them. And I just kind of wanted to make that correlation between a society that puts more, you know, importance on an investment, on a house, on a building, on a property, than it does on making a home, on people having enough on there being enough homes for people is correlating with the society that sees these human beings turn up in these boats and thinks that, you know, that's any way to treat human beings coming to sort of escape war zones.
They kidnapped a kid, you daft.
I know,
Sorry.
right?
You wrote it. You
Hey, I
wrote
know
them
she
to kidnap a child.
Why can't we just sympathise with the child kidnappers?
So
Great one.
this is who we're dealing with. This is what
Wow.
they actually think, straight up. Like, of course, we just give them a house. Just give them a house. Duh.
Which they then smash up. Do you know what? I have a theory. I'm not even convinced that like this whole voodoo, hoodoo, cursey stuff even happened. I genuinely think these two were just having a mass psychosis event caused by the guilt of their own actions. There was no devil. There was no witch. There was no deal that needed to be made. These two were just completely beside themselves with their own guilt, and began to share those experiences together. And we saw that, you know, again, so we've got mentally ill child kidnappers hopping off a boat, smashing up a house. Just such pillars of society. Brilliant. Well done. What a message. Thank you, Scribble Reevens. Brilliant.
Totally. I mean,
It's not-
that is
yeah.
very much in the film, that sort of repression and transference. These are the Freudian concepts, and the film gives us a load of that. Like, you're dead on the money.
Her guilt's
totally.
so bad she can't acknowledge. She believes that the girl was her daughter for a long time, and that she'd never had a daughter.
Yeah, that's the only thing I can think of, because there was again, I said this before the stream to you guys, that it felt like a bit of a plot hole, the fact that they were referring to Nyaguk, I think her name was, or Nyaguk, as their
Bless
daughter.
you for remembering all of their names.
Do you know what? I'm terrible with names, but I seem to have
But
these
African
names stuck with me.
names.
They stuck with me, man. But they seem to refer to her as a daughter. When that's obviously when because you don't find out about the reveal until a little bit later on in the film. Because again, up until that point, I was kind of liking Bol. I was really liking Bol because he was making an effort, and you know, he seemed all right. And besides, obviously, the mental psychosis,
He was actually trying to get on with the society that he was finding himself in, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like, and again,
he sang along with the football chants.
Come on, like, he won me over. I mean, I'm no Stoke City fan, but you know, songs about Peter Crouch. I mean, come on.
I mean, his efforts to integrate are actually very, very interesting.
And
I'm going to drag you back to this
and
scene.
And his wife, his wife insults him for it.
I know. There's another bit as well when he's talking English, I think, to to Matt Smith and the other guy, and she starts speaking her. I think it's Dinka. That's what the Netflix subtitles.
Yes,
and,
Dinka.
And he turned around and said, like, in English, and she's like, "I'm going to speak my mother tongue if I want." Like, again, it just shows the attitude, the differences in attitudes between, you know, see Bol, who's like, "Come on, like, you know, we're guests at the moment, if you will," and she's just, and you know, she's completely she is legitimately ungrateful. Like, I mean, there's the scene where she's ranting as well about the things that they've got, like the house and like the quality of it and things like that. And I'm just thinking, love, you have no idea how lucky you are to be in that situation. Like, there are so many people who don't have that. And
I loved the resentment when he came in and she's put out this big spread and she's eating in traditional style, and he says, "Why aren't you using the table?"
Yeah.
And he brings out the silverware, and you can tell he's unaccustomed to it, but he's trying to integrate.
That's right.
Wait, I've got her right here.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, she said, "All I can taste is milk," and he was just like, "Yeah, you'll get used to it."
But all right, hold on. I've saved it. Like, I really want to get into that, but guys, I need to nail down what is going on with the Mandem. What was intended by this scene? I will throw out. My belief is this was written by Remi Weekes, not the white couple who originated it. They are a couple.
Okay.
I think this is
Is this
actually, I
Remi
don't know if he
Weekes
was actually
being
born in here.
being a private school racist towards recent arrivals?
I think it's someone who kind of gets it, who's trying to do good work in breaking through the kind of monochrome thing of, yeah, you're black, you'll get on. It's like, oh dear. Have you looked at history? He's trying to show.
I mean,
like,
have you looked at the Sudanese civil war?
which is why they came over. But it's like a very interesting thing of like, no, he is breaking it down, but that she, of course, like she would look to people that she identifies with. She's like, this doesn't quite capture it. There's like the guy on the left, on the far right there is as dark as her, but she's notably darker than the other two, which I think is already trying to get in a bit of difference, but it's just the fact that they don't relate to her at all, I thought was fascinating. And it reminded me of many a Thomas Sowell article about sort of Nigerian immigrants to the US who basically sound like Uncle Jared on many a matter.
Fully integrated, don't like people who have come illegally, don't like people who refuse to integrate, don't understand them, and, well, to be blunt, make fun of them incessantly.
Yeah. Panji, no, sorry, just to clarify, if you haven't seen the film, this is like one scene in the film. The woman is one of the lead characters, called Real. Those school lads, they are just in this one scene, but it's absolutely fascinating because she goes up to them and she's like, oh, you're black, we'll get on, help me out. She, as was mentioned, she approaches them in her language and they're just taking the mick, basically. They're mocking her. And then when she leaves away, they literally say, F off back to Africa.
Yeah.
Only English round here, love. And that statement, only English round here, like, I'm trying to dissect that. Like, literally, what did the director mean by this?
Is he trying to say that these kids are English?
Well, I assume so. Is it like, but they've been corrupted? Is it like Britain is so racist that they have?
Are they supposed to be like an Uncle Tom?
Yeah, I wondered.
Like an English Uncle Tom character with their totally not stereotypical fried chicken.
I mean, come on, that is so true. The boxes all look like that.
Yeah, they're all
Walking
called
around
some
London,
variation of like MFC.
Yeah.
Which I always just
Definitely.
assume means mother flubbing chicken. Come get your mother flubbing chicken.
I love the
it's
rapper.
like, let's stay as copyright safe as we can while we flog our chicken in shops that are definitely not fronts.
Like
Definitely
to be fair, I am a fan of favourite chicken's rapper meal deals. I will say they are pretty.
I don't know what that is, and you should feel ashamed for buying it.
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. It was the foundational food of mine and my wife's relationship. It's got us through nearly 19 years together.
It's
Thank
the
you,
one
favourite
thing
chicken.
holding
Thank you,
it
FD.
all together all these years later.
that tangy sauce. Oh, it's godly, man. It's so good. It's so good.
Goodness
Probably
me.
wreaking havoc on my heart, but who cares?
Oh, no. I'm not reading that out, but I appreciate it, Pamela. Thank you so much. You cracked me up with that. Oh, gosh. Yeah,
And
so
TCG, if you didn't have access, if you couldn't eat that food ever again, whether it's shortening your life or not, would you really be living?
No.
Exactly.
So there's a lot in here. I'll just quickly go back to this GP, just the observation, like the GP, her clothes, the African pattern. It's like she's got this version of Africa in her head. It's a nice pattern. It's tribal. It's so good. And then she meets an actual Sudanese who's like, oh, let me tell you some things. But
yeah,
it's great. And then she's going up to people and realizing there are these huge culture clashes. Riel is totally unapologetically like, oh no, we're different. We're super different. and I want to. I think there is a deeper meaning behind that, because basically it relates to how they're processing trauma. Because yeah, Bol is throwing himself into the Englishness as much as he can, doing the getting out and about. Where is he? Where's my lad's finest togs? Where are they? Why can't I find a blooming thing in here? There we go. His finest togs from H&M.
Oh yeah.
But like, you also realize the reason he is doing that and throwing himself into it so much is he's trying to run from what he's done. The whole film is, just as you said, TCG, he's repressing everything. He's haunted by it. You don't actually need a night witch and Apeth. You don't need it. But his response to what he did is such intense guilt that he's running away from it, he's denying it, and he wants to just chuck all that. I think he even says born again.
Yeah.
They're born again here, which is why he's throwing himself into it so desperately and really trying to integrate, to ditch the English, etc.
I will say that. Go on.
No, over to you, Harry.
This scene is one of the reasons early on in the film where I thought it was going to be racists in the walls, because he's literally got the imagery of a white man looking over his shoulder emblazoned on the wall behind him. So I thought that was going to be a kind of small thesis for what the rest of the film is about. Although it does color the interactions, I think it is thematic in the way that it colors the interactions. The protagonists see how they feel when they're interacting with this new society, that they've always got a white man over their shoulder. However, I will say, I've been to clothes shops recently. This is not accurate of the demographics of pictures that they put up on the walls.
I had not picked up on that, but that is a very fair point. We also saw he did get followed by the security guard.
I noticed that, yeah.
I mean, the state of him when he came in there. Fair play.
Yeah. I will say as well, to go back to your point earlier, because I didn't get to respond to it, where you were saying that perhaps the film is showing the woman, what's her name, Rial?
Rial, yeah.
That's one, yeah.
Yeah, Rial. She's showing the right attitude by calling these English out for how weak they are. I think you're being very generous there with that, because I do think it is an example of woke more correct, but more perhaps in the opposite direction, which is that, again, my main takeaway from that, which is that you can bend over backwards to please these people, and most of them will still hate you. And the ones that are actually trying to fit in, like the man, they will be insulted and outcast and denigrated for trying to fit in.
I mean, maybe correct in two directions. She's only encountering the system, and the system is not made up of strong people. So yeah, I just think that's a really good point.
There we go.
Well, to move on, the integration leading to repression of guilt, or repression of guilt leading to trying to integrate, and then it all comes out at night through his visions, his dreams, and being chased around the house by the ghosts, just showing the guilt eating at him and just the horror of what he's done, just harming him.
I'll get you a good image for that, Murgoot. How about that one?
Yeah, very good. Where he's, every time the light turns off, the ghosts surround him and start grabbing at him, and he reaches for the light, turns it on, and all he sees is the girl with the white skull mask, and then she disappears.
It was very lights out, wasn't it?
Yeah,
totally.
Yeah.
I want to be, I don't want to accuse it of ripping anything off, because this is horror. We are quite generic here. Forgive me for repeating my go-to. It's like a martini. There are simple ingredients, but it's what you do with them makes a real difference.
Yeah, when he's pulling he finds the odd wire and starts pulling on it.
Mm.
It becomes a rope of seaweed, has the doll attached. All I could think of was some of the scenes in Nightmare on Elm Street. I wondered if that was a dream or if it was just the witch taking over what's going on. But then farther in, every time he falls asleep, he ends up in the middle of the sea, helpless. Or when he's eating or attempting to use the silverware and it pans back and you just see the corner of the kitchen dining room and broken walls and the seascape with the storm behind him. That was beautiful.
Yeah, that was a great scene, great shot.
Yeah, it looks absolutely great. I mean, this is the stuff that surprised me. I genuinely went into this thinking it was basically going to be 90 minutes of relentless Get Out level pure anti-white hatred. Let's be frank. There is subversion in this, but it's a better class of subversion. And what they've done with it is throw a heck of a lot of creativity and artistry into this. They got a budget uplift, which might help explain why it looks so good. But this is a creative film.
Well,
We
I
might
mentioned
disagree a lot.
backstage, but the dream sequences and the vision sequences worked out very well on this. The director's very talented because usually when they try and pull a forced dream sequence, it gets botched. And he did very well with them. They flowed seamlessly into the film.
Yeah, and very strong symbolism here. I mean, forgive me, this will be obvious to a lot of you, but just spelling it out, this is a Freudian element with visual clues. So the idea of something behind the walls is something that's part of the structure of your mind that you don't accept. You know, this is a bit of a gothic horror trope from things like, Edgar Allan Poe's The Telltale Heart to the yellow wallpaper. When something is behind the walls, it is something you know, but which is within you, which you have blocked off and have refused to access. It's a truth you won't look at. So when we have wallpaper literally peeling off to reveal and to show a way into it, this is classic Freudian analysis, visuals for repression. Adding in the idea that he's literally pulling on a thread, which is connecting and drawing him back to the memory. This is great stuff. This is how it works. If something jars you and you ultimately are tied back to the memory you can't escape, this is good stuff. This is very nice visual and character detail.
Yeah,
good stuff, film. Good stuff. I thought from the trailer, I honestly thought it was just going to be, white people on council estate bashing, like they were going to be. I really thought it was going to be them like threatened in the house, straw dog style or something. I was delighted to be wrong.
Well, when I saw the thumbnail of the film, it's like, oh, great, they spoiled the monster right off the bat. And I was pleasantly surprised when that wasn't the only thing threatening them. I was very happy that didn't happen. It didn't take away, the thumbnail didn't take away from the film.
I'll throw out something though. We've maybe been a bit too nice to this film. I do need to get a dig in here. Did you? I felt this maybe had been contractually brought up to. They didn't make their 90 minutes. They got to about 88 minutes, 85 minutes of story. They were kind of struggling to fill it. Now, I like that it's concise, but I felt that they were maybe having one or two many sequences where it was kind of a similar thing of basically get spooked by a ghost who you realize can't actually hurt you. For me, they did it maybe twice too many. And I have the feeling that they were having to sort of build their time up.
They could have cut this down to 70 minutes fairly easily and had it a more concise film and have it still hold together really well.
Yeah.
It did run long a bit.
Yeah, I mean, it's a short film, but it felt like there was just there's a little bit of padding. I don't know if Harry, TCG, do you think is that fair? Are we nitpicking? Should we complain about an 88-minute film?
I think it's fair to sort of say that there were a few scenes where it did kind of feel like a bit rinse and repeat, where you'd have they'd do something in the day, then oh no, scary moment at night time, and do something in the day. It sort of did happen a few times, but what I do appreciate about those, albeit repetitive, what I do appreciate is that there was a level of escalation each time. So there was that. So that kind of, for me, that I can forgive that.
Yeah, Harry.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, TCG. Sorry, I thought.
No, that was it. I'm finished.
This sequence that you've got on the screen actually, I think, went on way too long. The light switch going on and then off again, and then on and then off again. When the scene starts and the sequence begins and the light goes off and you see the creatures emerging from the darkness, that was very, very effective. But then the scene goes on for 5 minutes, and that's the one trick it's got, is the lights go off and there are creatures, and the more you see of them, the more there are of them, the more it begins to feel like a weak zombie horde scene rather than a creepy, unnerving scene. So I feel like if they'd shaved a few minutes off of that sequence, the best sequence in the film for me was when he's at dinner and they're talking, and then it cuts to him and it looks as though it's continuing the same scene with him talking to her at dinner just after they've finished talking, and he's cutting at his food, and the camera begins to pan out and pan out and pan out, and you realize that you're in a fantasy sequence. I think it was the first time in the film that the film committed to a longer fantasy sequence, and this here was actually some pretty good imagery. I was taken a bit aback by how good some of the imagery was, and the slow pace of the camera pulling out, revealing where he is, the slow reveal of him realizing where he is, and then seeing the creatures in the shadows so you don't get as good a view of them, was much more effective and much better paced.
Yes,
and after this one, the extended living room sequence was nowhere near as effective because it went on too long. It went back to the well.
Yeah. Massive agree. That's a massive winner. This one I thought was also good when he confronts a night witch. It was quite quick, but there's just a nice detail here. I could have them cut all this bit. Basically, it's repeating again that the sea is a big trauma for him above everything, but we've got that already. But there's a really nice detail in this where the arms holding him and the arms forcing him to look at Nyagake.
Yep.
If I maybe have got that wrong.
Nyaguk.
Okay. Those are his arms.
Yes.
You can't see it as well in here, but arms wearing the same top, same hand injury. This is like his internal battle forcing him, which is why TCG, again, you're on a winner. We don't need a witch. The witch is an analogy. This is a trauma management, analogized. But it's a lovely detail that they included this. So I forgive it.
Yeah, I noticed that as well, and I thought that was a really nice touch. Like it's almost like, yeah, like you say, it's almost like it's telling us that he is forcing himself to confront the trauma that he's hiding, that he's trying to run from, trying to hide from.
Yeah, Exactly. We've been too nice about the film. I think we need to do some digging. I think we need to talk about some Poison, if you guys are up for that.
Hell yeah, let's go for it.
How about the sneakiest edit in cinema history? Such a very dirty little move from them. I don't know if you caught this. I mean, what I'm basically talking about is how the asylee is portrayed. So it starts off early. We see them getting onto the truck, stolen kid in tow. Spoilers.
Mm-hmm.
Don't know if you guys noticed. What's the immediate cut that they go to?
Oh, I can't remember.
Straight to the boat.
I was going to say boat.
The only two places, Africa and the English Channel.
They completely skip out all the parts where they get to Italy or Greece and then travel up through Germany, decide, nah, not for me. Then they get to France or Belgium and they go, nah, not for me. And then they get to the English Channel and they say, here we go. Now we're on the gravy train, baby.
Oh no! Why
also,
am I
you might
forced to
drown,
go into
little girl,
here?
but you're not my kid anyway, so who cares?
Yeah, this was dirty.
They also don't show. They also don't
editing.
show the. They also don't show the French, the French ship escorting them over the English Channel as well.
No, they don't.
Or Nigel Farage sitting on the coast with his binoculars out, watching it come in,
waving
Banging
for them.
hands for
Come
them.
on, plenty of
pots,
room.
with his pots, clunk, 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 clunk.
Oh no, it would be a shame if people were to. I mean, definitely don't. But I mean, if you do get here, I mean, terribly, my hands are tied. I simply can't do. Anyway, basically, there is. This film is dirty in its portrayal of who is coming over here. It is what you might call. So many people are going to hate me for this. I apologize, but this is what we might call the Philadelphia technique. You know, you pick. Oh yeah, complex social issue. Who is going to address it? The nicest, goodest boy ever.
All I would say, right, is I understand why people get irked when people illegally cross the channel into England from France. But all I can say is, if you lived in France, I can understand why you'd make that trip. Let's be honest. I mean, Harry, would you want to stay in France?
What, an Islamist hellhole? No, thank you.
There you go.
I mean, it's full. It's full of Africans. No wonder these Africans want to get out of there.
That's not what I said. I was thinking more of the French, to be fair, but you know.
Hey! I know we're
French.
English. I know it's fine. I know it's a tradition, but now I'm of European solidarity. The French, strange, foreign, disturbing, creepy, rude, arrogant. I don't know where I'm going with this actually. Oh yeah. They're still European, and that must count for something.
The Saxon rage came out automatically in contemplation of his character. But the alliance is tough.
Does anybody want to start?
It's like
Conquest?
Legolas and Gimli. You know, you can team up.
I never
for this
thought
film.
I'd die fighting by a frog. What about
Shall I
a
fetch you a
friend?
baguette?
What about a friend? Let's not get that far, mate.
Sorry.
Oh.
Yeah.
We give you some immigrant.
We will continue after I just acknowledge a very kind super chat. First time super chat from Spawn Tree. Thank you for sending $10. Making my day by saying hello proper. I found your 12 Angry Men video, and yeah, Jura 8 uses emotional blackmail to make you think the kid's not guilty. I've been saying this for years, and people get mad at me. Cheers. Well, Spawn Freak, people have been getting extremely mad at me too for years, chimping over it.
And a cheeky little AI youth avatar as well.
Yes. Devon Tracy treated very roughly, so yes, does deserve a bit of support. Frankly, he's been treated rather awfully. Even if I might not agree with him on everything, he's basically a good boy. No, cheers.
Bo
As you
loves
know,
Devon Tracy, so I will. He's got that vouching for him.
true, and we can go with Poe's recommendations. But yeah, as you know, 12 Angry Men is a sacred cow. I'll just say, if you haven't seen it already, I did a long stream about 12 Angry Men, taking it from another angle. So if you want to look up in my streams, you can find that. You might enjoy that. I think it's one of the best streams I've done. It's very good fun with a chap called Pharaoh, very intelligent man. So thanks again for the $10. Is very much appreciated. So yeah, basically we'll carry on with the way our boat migrants are portrayed. And we've got to remember this film was made in 2020. The boat situation started in about 2014, 2015. In the interview I showed you a clip from, they are talking about the Syrian situation. You can imagine how they portray it. But by the time this was made, the boat crossings into England had been going on for a few years. And I think we know what was going on. And so the way they describe it, like, we've got that short edit, Africa to the English Channel, nothing in between, very dirty edit. Then we look at, where are they staying? Now, have 4-star hotels been massively downgraded recently?
Well, they were stuck in the detention centres, weren't they?
Mhm.
Well, yeah, at the time, it's just like, now, let's be fair. Detention centres were used, but this is, clearly they're being assessed in a school hall. Like, it's quite impromptu. It's just, again, of all the people they focus on, it's a man and a woman going together, not a lone dude. They don't get put up in a hotel. They're one of the people who go in a detention centre, even though, like, with the numbers, by the time you're getting to the boat migrants, they're going in hotels. Come on.
Were they, though, in 2020?
Oh, in 2020, absolutely. I'll tell you what, I mean, Harry, you live this every day. When would you say we started putting them in hotels?
Putting them in hotels, I don't know the exact date for that. I was looking actually at the Migration Observatory UK website earlier for one of my segments, and it was in 2018 that the first trickles of a lot of the boat migrants began to come through our new arrivals. I think there was something like 300 that year. By the time you get to it's either 2021, 22, or 23, you get the massive explosion where it peaks at about 47,000 in a single year. And it was in 2022 or 2023 that, no, I think it was 22, where we got the figures that the amount of money being spent on housing these people in hotels was £5.6 million per day, which is still about 100 times less than we spend on the NHS every day.
True.
Yeah.
I remember years ago.
Unironically, it's £550 million a day.
Yeah, I remember seeing that, and it was the news about why we wouldn't just send the Navy to the Channel until we did do that, just to taxi them in, was just, the cost was too prohibitive. It's like, what do you think happens to the daily cost if you don't stop them? And at this point, it's such a figure. I mean, didn't Connor talk about 15 billion a year now, or 11 billion a year? Either way, it was 9.
I know. In 2022, with the figures that we were given, it was like 2 billion per year. But I wouldn't be shocked if they've decided, well, 4-star, that's just barbaric. Have we read the Human Rights Act? Are we part of the ECHR or what? 5-star hotels. I wouldn't be shocked if they decided that.
Yeah. Anyway, crazy costs basically, but yes, lack of economic thinking, maybe not surprising. So this is very much as I say, it's the Philadelphia technique. It's, I'm going to show you the nicest, goodest good boy to try and win you over. Maybe not representative, maybe a bit of a dirty trick there. And we will.
Can I quote?
Please.
Can I quote Night of the Living Dead for a moment?
Oh yes.
Oh wait, no, Return of the Living Dead. Actually, I think it is. What do you mean the movie lied?
Why would Hollywood do this? Why would the Weinsteins? Anyway, moving on. So we have this sort of inherent dishonesty, and yet we've been ragging on this film for a few minutes. I want to come back and praise it.
Oh no, I want to very quickly rag on something.
Oh please, go on.
I really want to rag on something. We talked about the fried chicken kids earlier. That scene would not have worked had it not been for the fact that she was using a paper map to try and find her way to the doctors.
Yeah.
When it's shown that they do have a smartphone.
Hang on, I've got that smartphone right there.
Yeah.
Supplied by the
Google
Tony
Maps.
Blair Institute, I assume.
Probably, but Google Maps is a thing. It's free. It's
In the dark ages of 2020, no.
Believe it or not, I know, right? I know it was, not as up to date as it is now, but pretty sure they would have been able to find their way down. I mean, I found my way to Weymouth that year from where I was. That was about a 3.5-4 hour drive.
Yeah. I also note, like, in this first night, they sleep on a mat downstairs. When we're shown they've got a bed. What was that about?
I mean, to be fair, the first night I moved into not where I'm living now, but the first night I moved into one of my old houses, we actually did exactly the same thing for different reasons, but we did.
Bless. I mean, we slept on the floor too on our first night in this house. We called it cracked end chic. But we didn't have the bed in, so I just thought this was a weird little detail. All right, I want to get back on the praising because I'm trying to keep this concise. So again, there is a scene that maybe shows this film's got something else going on. They're met by, they're told they can get out. Correctly, they show us that the immigration staff are bored. This one in the back on his phone the whole time, doesn't care. A woman is present. The guy making the decision doesn't give a damn. He's so bored. When Bol says, I nearly did the accent. When Bol says, "I'm a good person," he's like, "It's not me. You have to convince." Yeah,
it's us.
True. He
us,
doesn't
the viewer.
care. This bored immigration official does not care. Is just doing a tick box. He's going on. Then we meet Matt Smith, and he's a really interesting character. I feel he's quite inconsistent. I've watched this twice now. Between the scenes, his thoughts don't entirely line up. It's a bit of a nitpick.
Hey, let's give him some slack. He's a civil servant.
He is.
He strikes me as the type of character who comes across as trying to, like, I'm air quoting, like, care about the well-being of these two. But I think, like the immigration officers in the last image you showed, it's just tired of it. I mean, the amount of times he says, like, "Oh, this house is bigger than my flat." Makes it out, this house is yours, it's all yours, and they're like, "It's ours." Why have we got this house to ourselves? And he's like, "You obviously, like, in some sarky ways, like, you must have hit the jackpot." It just seems tired of it. And then later on, when Bol goes to the office to, like, say, to ask about moving out, the other like civil servants there are like, "His house is bigger than mine." "Yeah, it's much bigger than mine." "Yeah, it's bigger than mine." It's
I'm
like
glad you picked out on that one.
They all.
They're probably completely sick of all of these people being handed the world for free and being completely ungrateful and insane and thinking that there are witches infesting the place.
Yeah, that's another thing as well. Like, do you remember that when they go round to the house and they see, like, obviously he's torn up all the walls, he's like hammered them all in, and, like, he gets let off with a slap in the wrist. But when Rial comes in and, like, just openly tells them what's going on, and I feel like the way what the directors were trying to do was make it sounded like they were the sane ones, and it was odd for Matt Smith and his colleague to be sort of like looking like, what the frick are they talking about? Like, you know, it was like, but if I was in that situation, hearing that, I'd be thinking, oh my God, these people are nutters.
Yeah. But this is
this
is really good stuff. This
is a psychosis event they're going through. They're not. There's no witch.
Imagine you're in this job and you're not just interacting with this one insane couple, but basically everybody who comes through the system is like this in one way or another, unable to assimilate, believes in crazy magic rituals from thousands of miles away. It would be the most radicalizing job in the world.
But that, I mean, I agree with you. And I think Matt Smith, maybe he's total shitlib, I don't know, but he, I think, expresses exactly that sort of tiredness. Like, TCG, you got it. He allows himself to say, you got to prove you're one of the good ones, yeah? And I didn't like that line because it felt like, how dare you expect? How dare you expect people to behave, you know? I thought that was quite sneaky and subversive. But the rest of the time, he's a really believable guy who has to put up with absolute nonsense. I mean, when he shows them the house, I felt we're meant to think, oh God, they've got a rough place, but bro, they're coming from Sudan.
Yeah, this is it. Yeah, absolutely. I was thinking to myself because I've got personal experiences with our local council that I obviously won't go into, but let's just say the effort I had to go through to get where I am now is nowhere near. Is far, far, far more tiresome and it was much more of a struggle than getting off a boat and then getting processed. And I mean, if I was in their shoes, mate, I tell you, I would have, yes, it's a dive, but do you know what? It would be my dive. And
and why is it a dive?
Yeah.
Who was in it beforehand?
Yeah.
I'm just saying. It totally dead on. Totally good point. I was just really interested that we got this scene where it is said aloud. By the way, it's the third or fourth time it is said in the film, your house is bigger than mine. You know, this is, and if you're like, oh, hang on, is this an actual perspective check in the film? Is it actually saying like, bro, you're in a house and you're in a big house? Like, tell you what, can I just assume, folks, have we all rented in crappy flats?
Yes.
Way smaller than that.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
God, yes.
The first flat me and my wife rented, the toilet was so small, right? You'd go in, you'd sit down, you'd shut the door and the door would touch your knees.
Oh God. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I've had like that before.
The kitchen, it wasn't even a kitchen. You just sort of walked in, and it was just everything just sort of like hugged around you. You couldn't even put a proper fridge in there or anything like that. It was just we had like a little like knee-high fridge with just like the tiniest of freezer compartments. I mean, it was a godsend. We lived like practically next door to a supermarket. Because if we wanted frozen stuff, we'd have to buy it on the way home. Because there was no way we would be able to like. It was I mean, don't get me wrong, loved the flat, but it was so small and it was it weren't great.
Well, my first apartment, it was a little bit larger than that, but it had appliances from the 60s. I mean, it had a locked door Frigidaire from the mid 60s in it, and it had a 60s era stove and no dishwasher. I bought a mobile dishwasher for that, and one basin sink. And I was 6'5" at the time, and all the doorways were 6'6", so I was ducking my head perpetually. Especially if I had my motorcycle boots on. It was just cramped. the only room in the house that wasn't cramped was the living room, but it was also the dining room. And yeah, it was.
Yeah,
I'm American, so my amount of floor space is a little bit off from the British expectation of a small flat, unless you're talking New York or San Francisco, where they basically rent out broom closets for $2,000 a month. But yeah, the place was old and in a shambles.
Yeah, and you'll have had to pay for that from, you know, in the early days. The money, obviously, it's not great when you start out. Harry, can I assume? I want to take a guess. I'm getting a bit Criswell here, but without the actors' noncing charges. How about the good old, not even a flat, just a room, in a flat share?
That was my uni accommodation.
Yeah,
a tiny little room in a large flat building where I shared it with two other people. One who I never saw, who mysteriously vanished. And on the last day when we were supposed to be leaving, we checked his room and everything was still in there, including his laptop. I think he might have died or been kidnapped. I don't know where he went. We saw him twice for the entire year. Very strange. But there was that, a shared kitchen where I was the only one who actually did the dishes. So, of course, I only did my dishes. And left all of his. There was literal like cement porridge in bowls by that sink by the end of the year, and one bathroom.
Have to hold form. You've got to hold firm, Harry. You did right. You cannot be the dish bitch. If you do their dishes once, if you break, you'll be doing them the whole year.
Yeah, can't let myself get walked over like that. And there was the one bathroom, and you know it was a uni situation. So if somebody went out, had a big night, came back, ruined the bathroom, that was everybody's problem. So there was that. My first flat outside of university was actually quite nice, but my mum sorted it for me because she was a letting agent at the time. The guy who was the landlord had no offers for it, so he had to reduce the price substantially for us. And the only way to get into it was through a beer garden. And even then, it was like this lovely little flat in an old Tudor building. But because it was an old Tudor building, I'm 6'3". All of the door frames, I was just constantly smacking my head on. Every single one of them, especially because you know it's next to a beer garden, right? It was right next to a pub. It's right there. I can't say no. I walk home, go through the gate. My friends are there. They're waiting for me. So, of course, I can't. So, yeah, I got a lot of brain damage from that.
And ladies and gentlemen, that is why Harry works for Lotus Eaters.
Yeah.
Yes, that's why I decided to start listening to Carl. And then
the only advantage to my shoebox apartment was I lived right across the street from the best family-owned Chinese place in town. And the son and daughter-in-law of the owners lived in the same building as me. So they didn't open until noon, but I ended up eating dim sum for lunch there at like 11 o'clock 2 days a week for free.
Very cozy.
When I moved down to Swindon, the place that I had to move to was a tiny little flat in a little block of flats. It was one of those houses that split into 4 flats, and it was a living room, kitchen, bathroom, bedroom style thing. And I was brand new to Swindon, brought my missus down with me, no friends, no idea of the social life. So you end up spending a lot of time in a tiny little cramped space together where, like you, Murgoot, I would close the door and it would knock my knees if I was when I was on the toilet.
That was TCG. I had more room.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, TCG. Sorry.
Funny thing is, You wouldn't have survived in our toilet, mate. I mean, bearing in mind, I'm not even 6 foot, like so.
I'm sorry to hear that, mate.
Yeah, the only two other interesting things about that apartment was each side of the building had 4 apartments, all 3 on my side of the building. I was the only one that wasn't an ex-con. And they'd have people show up and try and get them to do things. So they'd get advance warning, and I'd sit on it was a walk-up, so I'd sit on the stoop and clean my shotgun. And that avoided
such
conflict.
an American. So American.
Levels of American.
That's great. I wish I could do that.
A block and a half away was the trailer park they used in the movie Things to Do in Denver When You're Dead.
Great movie.
Oh, bloody hell. I've not even heard of that. Well,
watch it. It's got Christopher Walken. God, what's his name?
Gabriel Byrne, Stephen Baldwin, Steve Buscemi. Gabriel Anwar is the incredibly beautiful female in it.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell a terrible flat story as well. So I was in an estate that looked basically as rough as this, because that's what I could afford in London. And it's just rent a room, tiny bathroom with the toilet in one room, the sink you need in another. Why? Flat share, total randos, surrounded by not very good people, and a Polish. One of the rooms went to a Polish guy, a gay Polish guy, who would go and pull and bring randos back, and off many a time, so drunk they would come out, go to the bathroom, and then forget which room their new Polish friend is in.
Mm-hmm.
So you get like more times than I would like a totally off their head random gay dude walking into the room at 3 a.m. Like reasons to have door locks. Anyway, I go into this quite long tangent just to really nail this point down. This dude was given the house. Just given it. After breaking into the country, crossing Europe, and nicking a kid, and he was just given a house.
Yeah,
these guys are right to complain.
And not only that, but he wouldn't have been paying a single penny towards rent or anything like that, because it's established they're only getting 74 quid a week, and they can't work obviously while the asylum claim's going through, or whatever it is they're doing. So
the film assumes he sticks to the rules, and he doesn't immediately go on Deliveroo.
Hold on. Yeah, I know. Yeah. Hold on. They do break the rules. You see them break the rules, because when Matt Smith takes him into the house, he goes over some ground rules. One of the rules is no candles. What do you see later on in the film? They're eating dinner. Candles are lit. Get them out. Send them back. They broke the rules.
True.
Even just once, they said. Even just once. They did it.
On the free housing point, I'm sure that the writers of the film would say, but it's in such a bad neighborhood, though. Yeah, and we have all had to pay for the privilege of living in a bad neighborhood. My Swindon flat, when I first got down here, was the flat literally opposite was a crackhead living there, an actual crackhead. He would come out and you could see his teeth, and he'd been smoking crack in his flat all day. And I heard some horrible things going on there. But guess what? I was still paying £700 a month for the privilege.
Well, first of all, Harry, can I just say I deny those allegations from you? And second of all, our neighbours actually said that it was you who was bringing the estate down. So, there.
Well, I suppose I'm a northerner down south, so...
That's not a nice way to
Of course you could just say that.
We love Stelios. We love him. He's great. He's great.
Well, to be fair, right as we were leaving that flat, the crackhead had moved out the month before, and the family that moved in was a literal Indian family of 6. So it went from smelling like crack to immediately smelling like stinky curry constantly. So I was like, I'm so glad we're getting out of here.
Look, all I'm saying is I know which I'd prefer, man. I am.
Many such
Yeah,
cases.
I know you prefer the crack.
Yeah, hell yeah.
That crack guy. Make it happen. Now, There's even more in the scene. Now, I don't know if this film meant us to think, oh, God, they're so insensitive. He's got it rough. It's like, but I'm sorry, beaten, based. These guys are based. And then possibly to top it off, Matt Smith is given a line that sounds dangerously respectful of the basically resentment and grudges the British people are having, that I'm having. When he says that he used to be a banker too, but the job was shipped off abroad.
Mm-hmm.
Now, are we in danger of having an actually sympathetic counterpoint here? Like, is this actually suggesting that globalization is possibly hurting some people? And that he's beaten down because basically he is a victim of the same modernization that is bringing Ball in? Because, again, if so, this is the last thing I expected from this film.
A civil servant.
Well, just I see what you're up to, DCG. What do you reckon, Harry? I mean, am I too optimistic? Is this actually a bit of a nuanced point, recognizing that there are some alternative points of view?
If I was to be charitable, I might agree with you. I would not be surprised if the writers originally intended it to be a look how unsympathetic all of these evil Englishmen are being.
It could be.
These people have just come from a war zone, and he's complaining about the fact that, his job got shipped overseas. Boo-hoo, white man. Oh, you guys have small houses? Boo-hoo, white man. They just lost their kidnapped fake daughter. Boo-hoo.
Fair play. I don't know, man. I think there's a little bit of they may have intended it as poison, but this is one of the, for me, it's a bit of a forgot the Giga Chad moment. Just, anyway.
I do. Obviously, as a dissident observer of this film, we can take that reading. But if you're talking about what the authorial intentions were, I would say that it's another way to try to make the English seem like they're being unsympathetic to these poor victims.
It may be. I know, man. There's something about the depiction of the beaten down council worker and the absolute crap they have to put up with.
I did love
giving
this
him a house
guy where he's just what the bloody hell is going on here?
Yeah, I legitimately thought for a second that this was Jay from The Inbetweeners in a fat suit.
I hope so.
But yeah, this is great. I mean, again, woke more correct. This film is trying to tell us that, it's a rotten asylum system. They're so harsh. It's like you smash the house up with a hammer and they don't do anything.
Like they're useless. They actually put the house in a worse condition than when they first got it, and that's saying something given the state it was in before.
Yeah, and you just were like, why is it like this?
Oh, because we were cursed. We were cursed by this witch has followed us over to England, and now it wants us to repay our debt, and and you totally have to believe us because it's one of those things. Why are you looking at each other weirdly? Why are you looking at each other like we're insane? We're not insane. We've just told you what is actually happening. Like, come on, guys. Don't you have witches in England? I'm pretty sure there was a whole saga about that back in the 16th, 17th century.
We got them. We got them all.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I'm conscious of time. There is a point, an aspect of the film I really wanted to bring up that I thought was also potentially quite a lot deeper than we expected. And it's just the way that when Bol comes in and really tries to throw himself into British culture, I thought the way the film showed what he was presented with, which is not English so much, but just this kind of soulless commercialism. You know, I thought that was potentially quite interesting. Like, what Britain has he come to? He's come to Poundland, Britain, where, you know, he's not in a beautiful Tudor part. No, it's come to Britain, Poundland, or
he's in the UK.
yeah,
the
exactly.
UK is
The
where
UK.
he's arrived.
Come here, come here, and get your identikit uniform. I thought that was
The only kind of like English culture that he was able to experience was going to the pub. I think that's the most he got to experience of a more authentic English culture. The rest of it is all just commercialized.
Yeah,
exactly. I wondered maybe even if the young chicken shop lads, as I hope we're allowed to call them, if they were maybe an example again of similar to Harry Brown. If we're being shown like this is kind of UK thing where your identity is broken down and you're just sort of sold something as inoffensive as possible. I thought, oh, maybe that's a little interesting. Maybe that is.
It was interesting. The one aspect he seemed to enjoy most was the pub.
Well, who wouldn't?
I know, but do you know what I mean? Like, so you know, you got him just, you know, obviously he's got a Poundland to get some tools to smash up the house because apparently witches or whatever. I can't remember what the purpose of getting a T-shirt was. There was a reason.
Oh, he'd burnt all their clothes.
Oh, that's right. Of course, yes.
He was very gin-brained.
That's right.
There were gins in it, you know.
Yeah.
So yes, that's why we go. Modding forever. Yes, we do need a tea room revival. Absolutely. Yeah. They're wonderful things. Gosh. But yeah, just I think it's showing something. It's like it is aware of the UK. It's aware of its grim. It's kind of aware of how people are broken down on council estates. You know, obviously, actually, that's too big a topic, but it is aware of some of the nuances, which I do not think were intended by the original writers.
I think they completely fumbled the ball with the message they were trying to tell. Honestly, I mean, just from that little clip, it's clear to me that these characters were meant to be portrayed as some sort of like sympathetic.
Oh yeah,
we were supposed to sympathise with these characters. We were supposed to feel for them. We were supposed to root for them. But you stole a child. I can't. I just can't.
Well, this is a bit. We you know, we're coming to the coming towards the end. We let's delve in. Like the message of the film is. Okay, I kidnapped a kid, took her across the continent. I basically exposed her to danger, so she died. But you know what?
Gibbs.
I felt a bit bad about it, and so now I felt bad about it. You know what? I'm not going to face any other punishment, and I'll keep the house. And I will say at least 6 times in the film, we're not going in. We're not going back.
Yeah.
I mean, were you sold on this? That he felt a bit bad about it. He did some soul searching. Oh, where is my image of him? I'm gonna have to find him again.
There was a strong temptation to open up the Homeland website and see how much it costs to sign up. No.
Oh God.
The rumors are already out there, Harry. What, you haven't already?
No. Not that anybody knows.
I won't make you comment on it if you don't. I've saved this image as POV. You're trying to see a dentist. You're welcome.
The dead and abandoned.
Okay, I mean, what is the message of this final scene after he nearly faced some consequences, but then was saved it?
Well.
As the Apeth was killed.
Do you know, for me, this is a bit weird because I don't understand. I get the guilt over the little girl, but I don't understand all of these people. Like what?
I guess they're the spirits of everybody else who's died crossing the channel, And
Either that
I would
or
imagine that this image is more intended for the evil white British audience, so you can see, look at the faces of the people that you, yes, that's right, you Englishmen have killed by not opening the floodgates even wider.
either that or Bol has got some serious skeletons in his closet.
Well, to be fair, I mean, he was a banker, but we don't know. Maybe he was
That's
a guerrilla
true.
fighter.
That's true.
This looks like it's going to be the best Diddy party yet.
Oh, shut
Oh,
up.
no, where's the lotion?
They're not in white.
Oh, good point. Good point. So, I mean, maybe I'm out here. My interpretation of this was that kind of, you know, again, quite explicitly Freudian. You've got to integrate the ideas. You've got to make peace with them. As he said, you don't banish the ghosts, you carry them with you. So in his case, he's like, yeah, these people died on the boat with me, and you know, I've just got this connection with them, you know, I've got this community, and we're a community, and I'll carry their memories forever. And I do have to kind of say, massive chinny reckon, huge doubt. I just think that's some very fake line that you believe in Islington, that the writers I showed you believe, you know, it's I'm minded of these are randos, right? I'm minded of the stories of the boat migrants fighting on the boats, pushing each other out. I don't believe there is this deep solidarity and community bond.
Yeah.
From people paying smugglers.
Ultimately, even with a Freudian interpretation of an image like this, ultimately the story with the rest of the context of the rest of the film is still saying, if you're trying to break into Britain, the best way to assimilate, if you have murdered and or otherwise caused the death of somebody that you kidnapped, is just kind of accept it. Accept it. You killed someone, and then just feel a bit bad. And that's how you become British. Sorry, British.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm just going to leave up a very important comment. True.
Oof.
True. Yeah. He doesn't pay a price. Okay, he goes through a bit of anguish. He does a small cut on his arm. He stays. You know, I mean, this film, again, Woke and more correct than the mainstream. Of course he's not going. Of course he's not leaving. We know that. We've been blackpilled on this. You know. But
it's almost like
how
like
is this moral?
But then the film's trying to tell us that our immigration process is extremely strict. You know, initially when they go to have the meeting, you know, the guy who's in the same room as them is like, "Don't get your hopes up." And then when they've smashed the house up, you know, it's a bit more than just putting a candle down or having a pet cat, you know. But they're like, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. We won't say anything. They get so many outs in this film.
They pay no real cost for what they have done. They are being rewarded, and
you know.
you pay for them. We pay for them. I pay for them. Murgoot, I think you're safe, but unless USAID's been busy at it. But yeah.
Oh, the immigration system here is so broken. You guys only get what, 100,000 a year?
We had a million.
We had 1.2 million come in 2023.
Wow,
that's gross. That like gross numbers, not net for 2023. But no, we go between what 300 and 400k.
And they do update
officially
the numbers like the year after, typically as well. They go, actually, we've done a recount and recalculated the way that we actually count the numbers. So actually, it's this however many 100,000 more than we initially told you. So these numbers are constantly up in the air, because even with a number as big as 1.2 million people in a single year, they're still probably trying to hide the actual number.
Oh yeah, it's bad. So
it's bad here too with the Biden wave, not the Boris wave, Biden wave, just opening the borders and allowing the Venezuelan gangs in. They're a big
Well, I mean,
problem.
as far as I'm aware, the legal migration is obviously the biggest problem in this country, while the boat migrants are a very well publicized but nowhere near as large number of people coming in. In America, as far as I'm aware, because obviously you guys have such a huge border with Mexico, illegal migration is where you can get millions of people streaming in a year.
Oh, it's heinous. So
yeah, it's evil what's being done to us all.
It is. I mean, and this film, I think, we've said a lot of nice things about this. We have found a lot to praise.
No.
Movie.
You have said a lot of nice things about this film. I said it was a bit better than I was expecting, and because it wasn't racists in the wall, I still know that this film hates me, whether or not it accidentally gets a few things right here and there.
Are you telling me you wouldn't have liked this film a lot more if there was one of the scenes where he is tapping in the wall and he puts his ear right up to it, and it was like Scary Movie, except it drops a hard R on him? Come on.
And part of me was thinking that maybe the film was going to be about them getting a type of psychosis off of the idea that they know that white people can think the N-word in their head, consequence-free, and they can't do anything about it.
Oh, you gotta do something to pass those long train journeys, you know? Yeah. So, okay. I mean, I'm trying to... I'm dropping a little sugar to help the medicine go down here. So we found nice stuff, and there is good stuff in it. Like, for a start, this film looks great. It has been made with care, with imagination. But the harshest thing to be done to this film isn't by us, but by reality in the couple of years since it came out. Because the case this film is trying to make, that you need to do more, you need to help more, has really taken a brutal kicking by anyone just looking at the news. It's, you know, the whole take in the good ones. I don't know. It hasn't worked out that well. And a minor note, moving on from Southport, is just a little side note of the very casual mention of the old witchcraft beliefs, right? It's just dropped in as a bit of flavour, kind of interesting folklore. But we're also seeing interesting looks at that as a phenomenon. I've got you a documentary here called Kentucky Witch Boy, which is a recent documentary about how those witchcraft beliefs are being expressed. Now, people will say, hang on, that case is from a child within a Christian church who is accused of being a witch. It's within a Christian church from an entirely African congregation where, like in the Haiti sense, Christianity is kind of a Febreze over the far longer standing folkloric beliefs. Okay, these witchcraft beliefs, they are not harmless and quirky. They are pretty grim. They have grim consequences when children are accused of being possessed. They have grim consequences in Africa, and they have grim consequences when those communities are in London. So anything to add to that? I kind of forgot where I was going with this, guys. Anything to add to that sort of rather bitter pill to dollop on the film at the end there?
Remigration is inevitable.
Well, I will. We are discussing a no. I'll. It's a picture that's grown. You know, it's a matter that's grown. I'll just leave this up so we have that.
What does that say? Is that
What?
Is that
No,
one
it's just
that
a
Nigel
picture.
Farage stood next to that got him in trouble?
Oh yeah, it might be. It might be. It's just a footage of crossing, I assume. I just found it through Google.
It's amazing how my brain recognizes patterns that clearly just aren't there.
No pattern recognition, Harry. It's not good. It's not good.
No.
Yeah. All right.
Okay.
Well, there we go. There we go. Lot to say about this film. Lot to dig in. I am so pleased it wasn't the Jordan Peele fest that I thought it would be. I suspect the deeper stuff probably came in from Remi Weekes, who was able to go to places the original couple weren't ready to. You know, I suspect he dropped some of those additions that made it a bit more interesting. But for me, I'm going to say a very pleasant surprise. I think. Did you guys have anything else in particular that you really wanted to talk about, or shall we move into closing thoughts and scores?
I'm happy to move on to the closing thoughts and
Yeah,
scores.
I'm happy to close it off.
Sweet, sweet, sweet. All right. In that case, Murgoot, would you like to go first?
Well directed. I like the vision and dream sequences. The special effects were well done. It was a little bit slow in places, a bit repetitive. The messaging was mangled, thankfully. Overall, it's worth a watch. My first watch, I really didn't like it. My second watch, I saw a lot more details of how it was made. I have to give it a decent score just because of the craft of the movie. 8 burgers, a little bit of ketchup, and Matt Smith brought a little bit of cheese.
Fair, very fair, very fair indeed. Harry, how about yourself? What's your score for this in our wonderful classic? Sorry, excellent story I was prompted about.
Well, whilst it was more technically competent than I was expecting, and had a better set of scares in parts than I was expecting, despite being 90 minutes long, the story it was telling was so thin, it still felt poorly paced in many places. What based messaging there was completely accidental, and I still could not get over how the film clearly dislikes me, dislikes my culture, and wants me to root for a pair of child kidnappers whose ultimate goal is to accept and move on from that fact that they led to the death of a young girl, one of whom, the woman, Rael, is completely unlikable and an expression of anti-white hatred. And so I will give this 5 very, very waterlogged burgers.
Very fair, very fair. All right, how about yourself, TCG?
Yeah, I did. Look, I can see both sides from what Murgoot and Harry have said, and to a degree, I agree. This film exceeded my expectations in terms of what I thought I was going to be watching versus what I actually watched. I thought some of the scenes were quite well crafted. Other areas could have been a bit more concise. It was clear what the message was from this film. However, I think the directors did such a great job of bungling it. It turns out to be one of the most based films that I've seen in quite a while, especially when it comes to Netflix of all places. So yeah, well done, guys. Brilliant job. You've made people dislike immigrants even more, considering that the people you're rooting for are child kidnappers. Brilliant. With mental issues and, you know, yeah, just brilliant. Well done, guys. Your progressive values are really showing there. Well done. But yeah, I quite like the film. I could watch it again. I thought some of the makeup effects were really good, especially with the with the witch at the end. I thought him trying to wear bowl like a glove was quite cool. Yeah, I'd probably go around sort of like the 7 out of 12 burgers route. Probably a nice amount of ketchup with, and it'll be a Burger King burger in a box that simply says "Women belong in the kitchen."
And you're wearing that Burger King crown.
Yeah. Oh no, Burger King, you've mucked up the message. Oh no. If
Okay,
you know,
I see
you
what
know.
you do with that.
If
I
you
like
know,
it.
you know.
I remember it. I remember the ad. Oh, delicious. We got mixed scores. Mixed scores, folks. If you did the horror homework, get your scores in. For me, I'm torn. I think it's very competent. It does suffer from the classic horror, like they've just stretched it out a bit too much. It's absolutely fine to make a 70-minute film if you've got 70 minutes of story. It's fine. You can do it. I don't want to overrate it just because it wasn't the absolute hate fest that I thought it would be. But there was thought-provoking stuff and nuance and maybe accidentally based stuff in here. Good performances. Definitely one performance we haven't commented on that's just worth highlighting here because it did a great job. Bit of horror royalty. This is Javier Botet, one of our regular sort of creature feature guys behind the makeup. You probably know him best from Wreck as the final creature there, where his very basically skeletal physique is put to great effect here, and he gets to work well. So nice to see him. It looks good, but gosh darn it. As much as I appreciate the nuance, the fact that the film kind of thinks it's got its morality sorted out at the end is a huge problem. No Mr. Child Kidnapper and Drowner. No pass. No bueno. So I'm torn on it. I'm not junking it down to the 1 star. Like if it was the moral message of the film, it would be getting a one burger. But I come out balanced. I feel more like a 6.5 burger. Because I was entertained. It looks 7 burgers, decent amount of ketchup, but some very odd spices that definitely don't belong and should be removed. For me to fully enjoy the burger. It's one I can definitely recommend, but I wouldn't have watched it again if we weren't reviewing it. But it is a kind of fascinating look at the UK and the messaging you are given about this issue. So yeah, I will leave it there. Scores coming in. We got some very low scores. Some people really not happy with the film. A fair few 7s, 8s, 7s. Yeah. People appreciating the gothic element. Yeah. The gothic and Freudian element is good. We're seeing a kind of a mid balance here, which I think is fair. I think it's fair. It could have been an absolute disaster. It wasn't, and we can be thankful for that. So, at this point, giving the scores, we'll be rounding off very soon. There's only one thing left to do, which is to decide on next week's film. So, Harry, would you like?
Didn't I get to choose last week?
You did. I assumed you'd like to choose again this week.
Oh, all right, okay.
I can offer it around if you're flexible.
It's your show. You do what you want.
Oh, I try and be. Tell you what, TCG. Would you like Nonces or Surveillance State?
Excuse me. Hang on, are these the name of the these are film names? Or
What?
It's the topics. It's the topics that we have available.
Okay. Yeah, I'm going to play it safe. Nonsense.
Good choice. Good choice.
Subverted your expectations.
Sorry, are you hiring for the BBC?
All right, folks. In that case, your horror homework for next week, as Dr. Prepper has totally called, is Possum.
Oh, okay.
Again, extremely. We keep going back to Freud with these. Possum, 2018. very, very interesting. Very interesting indeed. Tough watch. I will forewarn you. A very tough watch. Maybe you'll think I'm an idiot, but I found it difficult to get through. Not really looking forward to a rewatch, to be honest. I found it.
It's not as bad as the Serbian film, but yeah, it's hard.
Yeah. So, have fun, guys. Possum 2018. Your horror homework for next week is Possum from 2018. Thank you very much to panel for joining me tonight. Murgoot, TCG, and Harry, absolute pleasure.
Thank you for having us again.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me on.
Thank you. And thank you, chat, as well.
As a delight. Yeah, chat, you've been fun. Some good tidbits in there being dropped by people in chat as well. Some good observations. Thank you. So I will... Oh, we've crossed a 2-hour mark. I am going to have to get out of here. So I will see you next week as we cover Possum. Folks, I hope you've got a good Friday ahead of you and a lovely weekend after that. And I will see you. Signing off. Thanks, y'all. Cheers.
#ShowGang.